2190, almost national master, against me, a regular kid, in the fourth round of our tournament, all the way up at board number 9, which is one board away from being cast on an electronic board. This game, I'm not going to spoil anything, but all I'm going to say is I think it was one of my best games ever. So, hope you enjoy. So, in this game, he started with the move pawn to e4. And before the game, I didn't really know much about him. So I figured I don't have any reason to not play the French against him, because as far as I was able to figure out, he had a very broad repertoire. And so I assumed that he didn't know it super specifically. And my suspicion was later proven when he played this move, pawn to e5. So this is one of the main ways, at least at earlier levels, but what it tells me at our level of chess is that he thinks that he can beat me really easy because my rating is 1600. I would not say my playing strength is 1600, but my current rating is that. And so because you play the advance, assuming that your opponent doesn't know how to play against it, because if they don't, they get crushed really easily, but if they do, you're under fire the whole time. And I happen to main the French, so let's see how smart of a decision it was for him. I go pawn to c5, c3, and pretty much we blitz out all these moves and we get into a main line advance. So pretty much I get this massive pawn chain and all my plays are going to come on the queen side, because it's actually a rule of chess. You should play on the side that your pawn chain is pointing. So I should play on the queen side, he should play on the king side in an ideal world, with some kind of an attack, as you may see him generate later on. So, knight bd2, knight a5, I'm looking to plant a knight here as quick as possible, and after a main move like h4, I'm likely looking to go bishop d7, put a knight here, put a bishop here, and we get a very normal game. But he goes rook b1, and we officially leave theory. Not like, well, like chess.com theory, but all still stuff I know. So, bishop d7, h4, knight e7, and then he went b4. And here's where I did my first bit of thinking. I'm like, okay, well, I don't suppose it would make much sense to do anything else, but I'm trying to figure out what he's doing. Like, why is he pushing this? It seems like a standard move, like he's going to, after I took, he's going to have discovered ideas, but then I'm sitting here and I'm like, wait a minute. So I really want to play this move, bishop to a4, to cover all of this. However, my problem with bishop to a4 was that he can just take here. And after queen takes and the queen moves, I have not accomplished anything, and now I have to immediately defend this. So I'm just like, honestly, I need to have something else happen. So I'm like, okay, well, let's take with the knight, and then he played this move. So instead of taking back, I was planning on, if he were to take with the queen, I was probably going to trade queens here and then go b6, then build up something here. And if the rook were to take, I'm simply going to drop back here and then put a bishop here and win. So he plays knight d2, and I didn't even think of this move, and I'm just like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And so I'm thinking, and I'm like, okay, I don't see a reason why not to play bishop a4. So I played this move pretty quickly, because I'm like, I was thinking of it before. I see no reason that I wouldn't play it now. Knight takes, obviously, he's down a piece, and I'm like, okay, let's just go here. Let's go knight c6. Now there's a direct threat. So let's say he plays a super random move. This is a big threat. In fact, he just is worse, because after this, rook takes, pawn takes, I'm just going to win material. So it's going to get complicated after bishop b5, because I have to go to e7, and that just looks terrible, and there's ideas of this and this. Oh, this and this. However, we didn't go into that because he didn't blunder it. He's 2190. He just brute force calculated, and he played the move I expected, which is bishop d3. I thought it was the most logical move. I'm going to put a bishop on c2, like, just cut off the pin. And then here's where I did quite a bit of thinking. And here's where I started to use the positional training that I have been equipped to be using. So I went with this plan, queen to c7. So now the point of queen to c7 is pretty subtle, but in the computer, it doesn't think it's so good, but if you let it run for a bit on a really high depth, it thinks that it's pretty much still a draw here. Queen c7, the point is first off, I'm just getting my queen out of the pin, like just simplest thing. But next off, I am threatening sacrifices. Namely, let's say he plays an absolutely ridiculous move here. I am maybe in my head. I was thinking, wait a minute, can't I just like maybe take here? So takes, queen takes, and look at that. It's still pretty much a draw. I thought after this, I would just have h2 here in this line, which is why he never played there. But I thought in my head, okay, I have this. And then at the very least, I get 3 pawns and a lot of compensation. And I was like, you know what? Now I'm threatening this again, but then I can take this pawn. So all renewed, all calculated. So then he went queen d2, which is very logical, getting out of the pin. And I no longer have more attackers. And I just went rook c8. I just pretty much said, you know what? At some point, I want to move my knight. Like, whenever I'm going to move it. Maybe I'm going to sack here. And this pawn is going to be super pressured. So he went bishop c2. And here's where I realized, wait a minute. He's starting to get nervous because he is making more and more retreating moves. And I'm like, okay, well, I've gained the initiative. I've gained it against a 2200. I'm like, okay, it's move 16. And finally, I'm feeling some sparks because his position looks really bad. And I'm just like, okay, how do I make progress? And I came up with a pretty solid plan here for making progress, which, let's say black plays a random move. Let's say a move happens, so I went a6. And the point of a6, I'd have to show a previous variation. But the point of a6 is that my idea was to take here. The bishop takes back, and then go knight a5. And then I would plant something here and gain this. However, there's a problem. Bishop a4 in this line. And I'm thinking all the way through there, and I'm like, that seems pretty reasonable. So I'm like, so what if I just go a6? And if you let this run for a while, it is the best move. And yeah, as you see, we have gained the advantage. And now my plan is now after, let's say, now another random move. Takes, and knight a5. Suddenly, it's much more preferable because I collect this pawn, and he can't guard it because of this. So pawn to a6 sets up a whole bunch of stuff which I had seen from the move previously. So again, my calculations feeling really good here. I'm not feeling like going too deep, so I'm only spending like 5-6 minutes on each move, just going a couple moves. And then he went rook h3. Pretty standard move. I mean, point to h4. He's not going to castle. Like, his king's pretty solid. He's going to guard this. So he saw my threat. And then I'm like, okay, well, let's use some more positional chess. What's my knight doing right now? Well, it came here to go here. But that's clearly no longer. It served its purpose. So we're going to repurpose it. Knight to a7. We are now going to re-pressure these pawns. He thinks for a while and goes knight a1. Knight takes, and now knight b5. Again, all my moves come pretty naturally. I'm just bringing pieces to the queen side. I'm feeling great. I'm pressuring. And he goes bishop b2. Very logical move. I mean, he's just guarding the pawns under attack. So I went queen a5. I mostly just wanted to make sure I would be taking this not with the queen first. So I didn't want the queen in front of the rook. And I was thinking, well, you know, maybe now maybe he can never push here because I get a queen trade. And I'm pressuring this pawn too. So he goes knight b4. And then I'm just like, okay. And I thought, and I was thinking, and here's how, here's what I do when I don't know what to do. So I'm thinking, and I'm like, okay, here is what I know about the position. I know that I want to play on the queen side, and he wants to play on the king side. And I'm like, well, first things first, what is my most logical course of action to get my other rook on h8 into the game? And so I was thinking, well, you know, it doesn't make much sense to go for some plan of castling right now because all of his pieces get mobilized. Not in that order because that would blunder a queen, but you get the point. So I'm like, okay, castling's probably not it. Like, I'm probably going to keep my king in the center. I've played enough of these positions where I have a good idea of that. So then I'm like, okay, well, what's his idea? And a potential idea of his is going, what I saw was pawn to h5. And after I go pawn to h6, my rook can never get out. So I'm thinking, and I'm like, okay, well, Let's play h5 myself. Computer will think for a bit. It is the best move. Again, h5. Now I'm freezing this pawn, and I'm maybe going to get my rook in the game. So pretty much when I didn't know what to do, I just diagnosed what I knew and tried to figure out, okay, well, what's the course of action? He goes rook a1, again, making shuffling moves. And I go queen a4. Queen a4, I'm looking to infiltrate. And mainly, his idea is to go here, which I diagnosed. Let's say I do something like this. a4 is a very serious idea. My knight gets off the beautiful post, probably has to go here and here again, and I don't want that reality, so I'm going to put my queen on the square. Queen c2 offers a queen trade. Obviously, I want to say no. Now, if he goes here, tactics. There's a pin, I win. So he goes queen b3, and then here I'm like, okay, well, what should I do? And I'm like, well, how about this? Let's go put my rook on c4. I know it's going to go on c4 anyways. I'm stopping. I'm freezing both of his pawns. And now he can't even go here because I have this. So, you know, just fun tactics, because now the bishop takes. Now my rook is also pressuring. I did see that all. I don't know why the computer puts as an accuracy. He goes king f1, just gets his king out of any pins. It's logical. It's like 2200 move. I don't fully understand it. I'm not going to try and pretend to. I guess maybe like here. Seems reasonable. Bishop e7. Now if his rook ever moves, I'm pressuring here. However, something important happened here, which is I start going into time pressure. So I am starting to get into the range where I have like 15 minutes and less, and in a classical game of chess, that's not where you want to be, especially against someone this strong. So I'm like, okay, the pressure's on, gotta play good moves. He goes knight c2, and here's where I had a chance to fully take the win, which is if I completely reverse engineered my way of thinking. Because remember how this whole game I haven't wanted queen trade. I just wanted pressure. The only move to claim a -1 advantage is queen to a4. And now, after everything takes, his position is equally frozen. All of his pieces are frozen to where they are, except for my rook. And I didn't understand this. This is what is keeping me from playing at 2200 level over the board, and what is keeping me at maybe a 2000, 2100 ELO performance. And so I missed that, and instead I go, okay, just go rook a4. I'm going to pressure here, and here's where shit gets rough. So I'm going to start going through this faster, because this is how it feels in the game. He puts his knight on b4, and I go, oh shit, my rook's stuck here. What do I do? Apparently the computer wants me to go here, which I missed. I missed that I had this. I feel like I should see that. Apparently he has rook to... What is this computer bullshit? Knight b4. I start to panic, and I go, okay, how do I get my other rook in the game? And I'm like, do I go king f8 or do I castle? And I'm like, maybe I can castle. I don't see how he gets my king. Castles. And then he immediately plays queen e1. I'm like, oh shit. That's why I need to go queen a4. And then I realize in the game, oh my god, that move isn't so dumb, because I need to put something on a4, but putting my queen there. Because before his queen couldn't escape this way. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, okay. He's pressuring the pawn. I'm like, do I keep it? I'm like, what do I do? So I spent almost 6 minutes of my time. At this point, I'm down to like 8 minutes calculating this. And then I'm just like, wait a minute. No, he has to win it back. And I'm like, what if he just puts his queen here? How does he get this back? And of course, I missed this. And then I go f6. And I go, you know what? He's kind of low on time. Let's get a rook aimed at his king. He takes my pawn. I take his pawn. Another miss. As I said, it's getting bad. I'm getting low on time. I'm getting really stressed. Queen takes. Rook f6. Blocking anything here, guarding this pawn. And then he sacks the knight. I'm like, okay. I'm like, do I take? Do I not take? Again, I'm draining time. And I'm like, I don't have a choice. Take it. And then he takes my bishop. And I'm like, I gotta put my knight here. And I'm like, okay, gotta go here. Just gotta recenter. And I'm like, I'm down 2 pawns, but maybe I have something. Then he goes rook f3. And here, I'm like, wait a minute, I have queen b5. But then, then I was just like, but wait a minute, he just goes queen e2. And then yeah, like that's what happened in the game, and somehow there's a difference here. Because instead, I took takes, and then queen e2, we get this position. So then I block it, and I pressure this. His bishop moves, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna go for the king. He moves the king, and then I'm like, okay, and then at this point, I'm like, I'm slow on time. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go put my queen here, and then do this, and then he checked me here. And I resigned. And I was like, it's so rare for me to come this close to beating a 2190, especially because I've never faced any before, anyone of this strength, and to get that close to winning, to be outplaying him the whole game, just to lose, and I'm just like, that hurts. But you know, high confidence. I'm feeling great going into round 5. I'm like, you know what? I'm at 2 out of 4 points. I'm already at like a 2050 performance rating. I'm like, how bad could it be in the final round? And guess we'll find out tomorrow.